We're going to go over the startup procedures for the BF110. Familiarize yourself with some of the basic things you need. They are going to be your throttles, your instrumentation for the engine, oil pressure, propeller pitch, water pressure, coolant pressure, temperature gauge, fuel gauge, switches, and engine control on the other second engine. Pretty straightforward. We're going to close up the canopy. I'm going to begin the startup procedure by pressing the E key, which is default for the engine start. Engines go through their procedures. Start. Press the 1 key one time. Press it again. And a third time so that it says first engine selected only. Now notice the throttle is open for the first engine while it goes through the priming procedure. After this engine starts, the throttle will close. You must reopen the throttle. 15 to 20% is good. Now here you'll see it close. Manually throttle it back up so that it's between 15 and 20%. Then we're going to deselect engine 1 by pressing the 1 key. Now we're going to press engine number 2, which is the 2 key. That's all you have to do to get to engine number 2. Engine number 2 will now begin its startup procedure. After it starts, again, you will have to reset the throttle to 15 to 20% after it closes. And then you want to pay attention to your temperatures. If you close your throttles, the engines will stall below 30 degrees. You wait for the engines to come up to 30 degrees and close the throttles, then you'll be able to reset the engines. So we're going to watch it come up to 30 degrees. Now if your engines are already up above 40 degrees, 30 degrees, you can go ahead and proceed on to the second part of this, which is setting the time. What we're going to do is we're going to, well, I kind of screw up here and closed engine number 2. Once it got to 30 degrees without closing engine number 1. Notice how they all moved at the same time, but they were not synced. Deselect the engine by hitting 0. Reselect the engines by hitting 0. Now your engines, as long as your throttle is closed at the time that you do the 00 and select all engines, they will be synced. You're done starting the engine. Now before you take off, you definitely want this baby at 40 degrees, so leave your radiators closed. Oil temperature still below 30. Still low on that side. Your temperatures are under 40, so we'll go ahead and leave the radiators closed and taxi. Some people don't like to fly the 110. I don't mind flying the 110. It is not as agile as a 109. Don't ever let anybody change your mind on that. But for a gun platform, it is a very nice platform. You have to remember that it is slow to respond. So we'll run over a couple of ground crew here. Remember now we still have our radiators closed. We want to keep an eye on the temps. After we take off, we're going to come back and kill that IL-2 that's out there bombing the boats, by the way. You're going to like that. Shows you just what an awesome platform this is for guns on. Okay, one engine's up to temperature. The other engine should be coming up to temperature here real soon. Get yourself lined up on the radiator, or on the runway. There's our second engine. Lovely. Go ahead and open your radiators 25%, engine and coolant and oil. I like to set my flaps to 40% for takeoff. Once we're set, we're just going to go hard throttle with brakes on, and once our engines have spooled all the way up, we're going to go ahead and release the brakes and roll. At 150, the tailplane comes up. 180, you can go ahead and ease back on the joystick. Aircraft is coming up. Bring up your landing gear. Go ahead and throttle back to continuous mode. Once you're in continuous mode, bring your flaps up to 30%, 220 miles per kmh. Pull back to 30 at 240, 250, pull back to 20, and then at 270, go ahead and retract them fully. And you have started up, and you are now flying a BF110 E2. Now it's time to go back and kill that IL-2. Remember, these things are okay, but they are not a 109 in a turn. Although there are people that like to dogfight with these things just to piss people off. Just wanted to make sure that they were still there. Also, Control T by default will reset your trims. If you've got your trim set to where you can manually adjust them, go ahead and do so. These things fly really well at 0-0. It's where they get the most speed out of them too. IL2 wants to play, so we're going to show it just exactly why you don't go head to head with the BF110 E2. Yep, that was an ouchie. And that is an IL2 that's dead and doesn't even know it yet. And now he's a parachute. Now we're going to go through a quick landing procedure for the 110. At least my landing procedure. Might help somebody, maybe not. You want to get down to 250 kmh. You want to be out at a distance. This isn't something that you can land like a 109, just drop it on in. Once you're at 250, go ahead and start releasing your flaps. Get 30% flaps, go ahead and drop your gear. Then finish dropping your flaps the rest of the way. Close your throttle completely and let it float. Coming in a little hot, you really want to be about 220 when you're landing. Now, once you're over the strip, just a nice ease back and let it stall right onto the ground. And then you want to go ahead and hit your brakes, rudder, or whatever you need in order to slow yourself down. Like I said, we were a little hot coming into the runway. But it's pretty straightforward. That's a BF110. This is your tutorial.